Namaste, everyone. Really sorry for a few internet issues I'm facing. There has been I'm at a village and there has been a storm that passed by just very recently. So we have, by now we have covered we have covered the astronomical concepts that are associated with astrology. Okay. And we have also seen, what astronomical concepts will be required, for our journey to study this great subject in details. Okay. So today, as I said in the group, we will be actually taking a deep dive into what Vedic astrology is and the concepts related to Vedic astrology. Okay. And Leah was actually worried that I'll be going too fast and she will not be able to take notes. But at the end of the day, you can always access the recordings. Okay. So, anyways, like usual, let's begin this class by our Shanti mantra from the Upanishad, and let's begin this in praise of this Jupiterian knowledge, which is Rahuvian in nature for all of us. Okay. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunakatu Sahaviryangkar Vavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. Yeah, just a minute. So today we'll be basically, dealing with with planets and the basics of the rashis. Okay. So I'm just saying the basics because there are a lot of advanced concepts related to the rashis, related to the planets. So we'll not go into the advanced concepts. We'll just look at those which will be, which will be useful for us as we begin to understand and analyze how a basic astrology or a Vedic chart is read. Okay. Just let me share my screen. All right, I hope the screen is visible. Okay, so these are the types of charts that we will be looking at in today's class. Then we will be looking at the concepts of exaltation, debilitation, and Mula Trikona. Okay. Then we will look at the natural mutual relationships of the planets, and then we will see how the mutual relationships work out between the planets and things like that. Okay. So I'll share the PPTs in the group, Mesha. Okay. So what we have already seen is that the sky can be divided into 12 signs of the zodiac. Okay. And we have also studied that one of the signs happens to be the rising sign. Okay, the sign which rises at the eastern horizon at the time of birth. So this rising sign is known as the lagna or the ascendant. Okay, and the lagna happens to be the first house of the horoscope. Okay, now don't mix this with the Nadi principles, because a Nadi chart has no concept of houses. Okay, so this lagna is the first house of the horoscope, and to make things easier, consider that just like all the 9 planets, the lagna will also behave like a planet, because this is the sign which has which has eclipsed the native so much that it governs it governs the discretion or the discrimination power of the native. Okay, so what I'm saying is that since the lagna happens to be the first house, it means that the houses and the signs, they do not coincide. Okay, The first house has the label of the sign rising at the time of birth. Then the second house bears the label of the sign that will rise next, and so on. Okay. And the 9 planets or the 9 grahas from Surya to Ketu, these are the occupants of these houses. Okay. So, there are cases where all the 8 planets will occupy one house, right? Because Rahu and Ketu will always be opposite to each other. So it is very much possible that all the 8 planets can be in a single house. Okay, don't be surprised when if you come across those charts. I have seen those charts while doing my consultations. All right, and the houses, they represent certain characteristics. Okay, and the signs falling in these houses, they also represent certain characteristics. Okay, and the interaction of the planets with the signs. Okay, the interaction of the two, okay, that means the intermingling of the two, they indicate something that the astrologer must interpret according to his own understanding, according to his or her own logic. Okay, and then further modifications will happen by the aspects of the planets. Okay, further modifications will happen by the aspects of the signs, and in order to make any fruitful predictions, it is very essential that that the person understands the meanings of signs, houses, and planets. Okay, so as I said, it is very important how to it is very important to know or understand how a horoscopic chart looks like. Okay, so here I have I have given the 3 variations of the charts that we will use. My personal favorite is of course the North Indian chart. Okay, but the point being, if you are learning astrology, you should start using the South Indian chart or the East Indian chart more often, because what happens is this North Indian chart will not be very comfortable while studying the aspects of the planets. But if you look at the South Indian chart and the East Indian chart, you can you can understand the planetary aspects very, very well. Okay, so just to give you a few, just to give you an overview of all the 3 charts. So this North Indian chart is one in which the order of the houses is fixed. Okay, it comprises of 4 central rhombus shaped houses, which are numbered 1, 4, 7, 10, right, starting from the upper central rhombus, and then 8 triangular houses. Okay, the sign rising at the time of birth is marked in the first house, okay, or the upper central rhombus, and the remaining signs are marked in a regular order in an anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so this is in the North Indian chart. The first house, this upper rhombus, this will always be the first house, this will always be the 7th house. There is no change in this. Okay, the signs can be anything. Okay, suppose the rising sign is Capricorn, so this will be this will be 10. Okay, because Capricorn is the 10th sign, but the house will always be the first house. All right, then you look at the South Indian chart. It has the signs in a fixed order in the chart. Okay, that means this house, the South Indian chart, will always begin from Aries. Same with the East Indian chart. Okay, the first house will always be occupied by Aries, right? In a North Indian chart, the first house may not be occupied by Aries. Okay, it could be any sign that is rising at the time of birth. But in this case, the first house in the South Indian chart and in the East Indian chart, the first house is always occupied by Aries. Okay, and then the Lagna will be marked in the appropriate sign. Okay, for example, if the rising sign is say Taurus, then you will have a double dash here. Okay, you will have a double dash here, right? Let's see if I can just use this thing. Maybe no, I cannot. Sorry, I cannot. Anyways, no, I cannot modify this. Just a minute.
You can paste it into Microsoft Paint and then do it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do that. But, being able to do it. Anyways, let me, if possible, let me use the whiteboard. Let's see. Try and use the whiteboard if possible. No, it's not coming. Okay, I think people can see the whiteboard here, isn't it? So this is, suppose this is the, you know, I think this is visible, isn't it? So suppose this sign in the South Indian chart, this sign will always start from Aries. Okay. And suppose the Lagna is Gemini. So the software will have, you know, will have two lines like this to indicate that this is a rising sign. Okay. Or suppose the, you know, suppose the rising sign is say, you know, the rising sign is say Pisces, then the software will have an indication like this. Okay, so I just hope I'm making sense here. Anyways, yeah. So as I was saying, the South Indian chart will always have signs in a fixed order. Okay, and the remaining houses will be counted in an anti-clockwise manner. For example, this is Aries, then we come to Taurus, then we come to Gemini, then we come to Cancer, and so on. Okay. Now the East Indian chart. Yeah, clockwise. Yeah, I'm sorry if I used the anti-clockwise word. Yeah, it's the clockwise calculation. Okay. So the East Indian chart, it is most often used in Bengal and Orissa. People here in Assam, they use the North Indian chart the most. Okay. But the East Indian chart is often used in Bengal and Orissa, and it also will have signs in a fixed order. That means the ascendant will be marked just like in the South Indian chart, and the remaining houses will be counted in an anti-clockwise fashion. So this is Aries, this is Taurus, this is Gemini, this is Cancer, this is Leo, and so on. Okay, so for North Indian chart and East Indian chart, the calculation will be anti-clockwise, and for the South Indian chart, the calculation will be clockwise. Okay. So now whatever type of horoscopic chart you might prefer, the planets will be placed in the houses bearing the signs in which the planets are located astronomically. Okay, so maybe later on we can see how a chart can be drawn manually. Okay, this is an important part of it, right? This is an important part of it. You'll need a copy of the Panchang, and later on, as we proceed towards the the analysis part of this course, and I'll just teach you how to draw the chart manually. Okay. Now, as I said, the chart is it's an interaction of the planets and the rashis, and a lot of importance are paid, and a lot of importance is paid to the planets. Okay, but equally important are the rashis or the signs, because the rashis, they indicate, the meaning of the rashi is a heap. Okay, it And this heap is the heap of karma that needs to be worked on. All right. And the rashis are also very, very important because they will also form the basis of remedial measures. All right. So, there are certain rashis where the remedies will not work. I'll tell you what. Okay. There are certain rashis where the remedies will easily work. And then there are certain rashis where the remedies have to be made to work with the application of whatever free will we have. Okay. So the 12 signs of the zodiac, they will have a specific appearance and a habitat. Okay. And, this Parashara takes the reference of Vamana Purana in the BPHS, and he gives us the reference of a dialogue between the sage Pulastya and the sage Narada. Okay. And in this description of Parashara as given in the Brahat Parashara Horashastra, it is Pulastya who is addressing Narada as to how the various signs look. Okay. So the sign of Aries, right, it resembles a ram. Okay. Ram is a mountain goat. Okay. And it circulates amongst the goats, the sheep, and regions holding wealth and precious stones. Okay. So whenever you see any region which has a lot of goats, which has a lot of sheep, right, the mines, okay, the mining regions, the coal mines, the gold mines. So all these are symbolized by Aries. Okay. And it wanders on grassy lands and around lakes surrounded by vegetation. Okay. So suppose someone is having Aries in the first house. Okay. Suppose someone is having an Aries as a rising sign. Then what happens is that, since Aries will represent grassy lands and areas around lakes surrounded by vegetation, so every time these people are in those areas, the intelligence gets triggered by a lot of, the intelligence gets triggered so that they can take decisions. Okay. Suppose someone is having Aries in the fourth house. That means in the sign of the mother or the homeland. Okay. So they would always prefer their home to be on a grassy land or a grassland, or maybe around a water body and things like that. All right. So why this ram? Because for anyone having Aries rising, or for anyone having the moon in Aries, these people will be very, very brave. Okay. They will not think much before making a decision. Okay. If you see how a mountain goat operates, those goats, they will just climb up the mountains at places where there are there where there are no steps where there are no steps that appear to the eye. Okay. Suppose anyone who has been to a mountain, if you go near the mountain, you will not even see steps as to how to climb the mountain, but you see how a mountain goat appears. They can easily jump from one stone or one rock to the other, and maybe they can, while doing that, they can also die. But that is how the Aries mind operates. Okay. That is how the Aries mind operates. They are very, very brave. They are very, very quick in taking decisions. Okay. They never hesitate to go into a fight. You see how two mountain goats fight. Okay. They will just use their horns to fight each other without thinking of the consequences. So the Aries, the discretionary power of an Aries rising will also work in that way. Okay. That is the intelligence. All right. Then the sign of Vrishabha, it resembles a bull. That means it is symbolized by a bull. And it is also symbolized by cowsheds and farmlands. Okay. So what happens is that, whenever you see a bull, the bull is always very relaxed. Okay. The bull is always chewing the cud. The bull is always, always operating in its own way. So, if you look at cow houses, if you look at farmlands, those are the places where there would be, where there would be ample food. Right. So every time you come across a Taurus rising person, or someone who's having a moon in the Taurus, whose moon is in the sign of Taurus, what happens is that these people will be very, very stubborn. These people will be very, very slow to make changes. Just see how the bull operates. And the best way to understand how how a person thinks, or the intelligence of a person, is to see how how the animals related to the signs operate. Okay. Then if you look at Mithuna, okay, you'll see it being symbolized by a man and woman bearing a trumpet and a harp. Okay. And the places of residence are the couch and the lounge. Okay. These are the, Mithuna also represents places in the in the modern cities where sexual interactions happen. For example, in the movies, for example, in the gyms, in the restaurants. You go to a restaurant, out you go out for coffee to a restaurant, and then you meet a partner. Okay, and then maybe both of you get sexually aroused, and then you make out at a place which is which is in a hotel. So all these are represented by the signs of Mithuna, or the sign of Gemini. And this is the sign where both the male and the female, they can flirt to have their way out. All right, so Mithuna people, whoever has Mithuna rising, or whoever has or whoever has the moon in Mithuna, they can easily flirt for ice creams. Okay, they will flirt even for ice creams. Okay, and Mithuna is, it is also represented by singers, the dancers, and the sculptors. Okay, and this is also a sign which is which represents sport lovers as well as the pleasure houses. That means the brothels. Okay, that is the reason, that is the reason why Rahu exalts in the sign of Mithuna. So we'll go in details with all that. All right. Then Karka, it has the appearance of a crab and lives in water. Okay, and it will be symbolized by all water-filled, water-filled garden beds and riverbanks and those lands which are not fit for human habitation. Okay, so just look at a crab. You leave a crab at, you take a few crabs, maybe leave them in a big jar, okay, a jar of sand, and then where you'll see that just all the crabs will just try to be in that jar of sand without trying to come out. And maybe one crab suddenly has the intelligence that I must come out of this jar. Okay, I must come out of this jar, and I must do something for me. And then the crab tries to escape. You will see that the other crabs will try to pull down the crab who is trying to leave the jar. Okay, so Karka or Cancer, this is the this is the sign of togetherness. Okay, this is a sign of togetherness, and this is the place where Jupiter exalts, because Jupiter represents the coming together of people. Okay, Jupiter represents the coming together of people. You see how what houses are, what houses Jupiter is ruling. Okay, Jupiter is ruling the ninth house. It means the coming together of people for the purpose of dharma. Okay, ninth house is the house of temples, right? Then Jupiter is also ruling the 12th house. That means the sign of Pisces. This is the coming together of people for the sign, for the purpose of spirituality. Okay, then Jupiter is also getting exalted in the fourth house, in the original fourth house of Cancer. So this is the coming together of people for all the for all the domestic activities. Okay, then comes the sign of Leo. So it resides in the mountains, forests, caves, places which are inaccessible, then deep ditches, and the living place of hunters. So you see how a lion operates. The lion will be sleeping the whole day. He will ask his his wife to go out for a hunt, and that is how that is how the Simha mind usually operates as well. These people are very, very territorial. Okay, they will have very fixed ideas of which place belongs to them and which place belongs to others, and they usually don't they don't like trespassing. Okay, it is just like how the lion thinks. Okay, then Kanya, it comprises of a woman who is either standing or sitting in a boat and holding corn and a lamp in her hand, and it will actually inhabit it will actually inhabit women's pleasure rooms. So if you ask me which sign is the sign of brothels, then it is the sign of Virgo. Okay, Virgo also represents the harvested crop. Okay, Virgo also represents the the place where the crop is harvested. Okay, but because you see the iconography of Kanya, as I said, it comprises of a single woman. So anytime you come across a Virgo rising or a Virgo moon sign, it means that person will be very, very choosy. That person will have fixed ideas as to what is right, what is wrong. That person will have very fixed boundaries about himself or herself. Okay, then we come to Tula. Okay, Tula is the sign of Libra. It is it is represented by a man holding a balance in his hand, and it will include, or it will represent places like the lanes, the neighborhood lanes, then the marketplace, the towns, the routes, and the buildings. Okay, so Libra is a place where it will also represent government buildings. Okay, where arguments happen. The secretariat that you see, okay, in any state, in any part of the world that you live in, that is represented by Libra. Okay, because whatever laws are made for the benefit of the public, they have to be they have to be very, very balanced. And the government cannot make laws which are, which are tilted in favor of a particular community or things like that. Okay. Then we have the sign of Vrishchika, or the sign of, the sign of Scorpio. And this is, this is actually the symbol of a scorpion. And you see how a scorpion is, is very, very protective about itself. It's very, very protective about its eggs and babies. Okay. It is represented, it is also represented by crevices and pits. Okay. And, it will also include areas which are poisonous. Okay. Which are, which are filled with stones and insects and the excreta of animals. Okay. You see how a Vrishchik, you see how a Vrishchik person thinks. Okay, suppose someone has Vrishchika, Vrishchika is always the, it's always the place of darkness. Okay, so if someone has the moon in Vrishchika, or if someone has the, has Scorpio as rising sign, that person will be very fond of lights. Just have a, have a taste of it. That person will be very fond of lights, because Scorpio is the sign of eternal darkness. Okay, Scorpio is a sign of eternal darkness. The deep waters that are not, the deep waters of the river that are not explored out of fear. Okay, the deepest points in the sea where, where people die if they go to explore, that is represented by Scorpio. Okay, then you come to Dhanu, right? If you look at Dhanu, it is represented by half man, half animal. Okay, the legs of that being, which is the, which symbolize Sagittarius, the legs of that being are like those of a horse. Okay, and it is very radiant and it holds a bow and arrow. Okay, so what it, Dhanu is a sign of competition, right? And competition can exist in only two places. It can exist in the, it can exist in the field of religion, and it can also exist in universities. That is the reason you see all the religions trying to claim that, trying to proclaim that, okay, my religion is, my idea of God is better than your idea of God. Then you see the university students competing against each other for jobs, for marks, and so on. Okay, so what happens is that Dhanu is the sign of transformation. That is the reason it is represented by a half man and a half horse. Okay, and in our Hindus, in our Hindu dharma, we have a lot of figures who are, who are half human and half animals. For example, we have Sri Ganesha, we have Sri Hanuman, okay, we have Sri Narasimha. So all these are representative of Dhanu. So Dhanu also represents the shedding of the animal, animalistic nature in us, right? When you go to a temple, the symbolism or the esotericism is that you are shedding your, animalistic nature to become more human. Okay, you're exploring your nature as a human whenever you visit the house of God. Okay, then we come to the, we come to the sign of Capricorn, which is known as Makara. Okay, so Makara is represented by either a deer or a, or a crocodile, basically. Okay, and the word Makara, it actually is derived from the Sanskrit word Nakra. Okay, Nakra means a place which is scary. That is the reason you see, you've seen the, you most of you must know the story of Ganindra Moksha. Okay, how that elephant was caught in that marshy land. Okay, how a crocodile was, was about to bite off its leg, and then the elephant prayed to Vishnu, and Vishnu came in and saved that elephant. Okay, so Makara is the crocodile that lives in the marshy areas. Okay, and if you look at a person who is Makara rising, or whose moon is in Makara, the one prominent feature you will find in these people is the quality of patience. Okay, they can wait till eternity. Okay, you see how a crocodile operates. It'll just keep on, it'll just keep on relaxing like a log of wood, maybe for days to come, maybe for, maybe for several days before a prey comes, and then all of a sudden, suppose some animal comes to drink water, in just like a flash of lightning, the crocodile will latch onto that creature, the poor creature that comes to the river to quench its thirst. So the Makara, the Makara rising is also like that. They are very opportunistic by nature. Okay, people who have Makara ascendant or the moon in Makara, they are very opportunistic by nature. They can just be around you, not giving any idea, not giving off any idea regarding their intentions and things like that. But when the time comes, they can become very, very dangerous. Okay, that is the reason why Mars exalts in Makara, because it is also the sign of discipline. Okay, and the places represented by Makara are the swamps, the marshes, and the and the areas around the ocean. Okay. Then Kumbha, it represents a man or a female wearing wet clothes and holding on its shoulders an empty pitcher. Again, this is, this is a sign which is very, very sophisticated. Okay. This is a sign where, because when you see a person holding a pitcher, that person is giving, the liquid contained in the pitcher to you to drink. You are never sure whether the pitcher contains water or whether it contains poison. So Kumbha is just like that. But the difference between Makara and Kumbha is that a Kumbha rising person would be very, very sophisticated, while the way of speech of a Makara rising would be very, very rough, would be very, very crude. Okay. Kumbha is also the sign of research. It is also the sign which represents toilets. People think that Scorpio represents toilets, but it is actually Kumbha which represents toilets. Okay. And Kumbha also represents Hanuman temples. Okay, because you've seen that, you've seen most of you must have read the Hanuman Chalisa, where it says that Ram Duware tum rakhware, hot na agya minu paisare. So this is the place which leads to the doorway of God, of the Supreme, and who is seated at the doorway? That is Hanuman, who is holding that doorway. Okay, that leads to his Lord Rama. All right. Then the sign of Meena, if you look at the iconography, it will comprise of two fishes which are lying side by side, the head of one being beside the tail of the other. So this indicates freedom. Okay, Meena indicates freedom. All right, the freedom to go anywhere you want. That is the reason the 12th house, the original 12th house, is ruled by Meena. Okay, and it includes places of pilgrimage and in the oceans, because in the oceans there is absolute freedom. You can go anywhere you want. All the directions are correct in an ocean. Okay, it'll also symbolize pious places, the temples of gods, and the houses of Brahmins, where there is absolute freedom to do anything. Okay, by anything I mean in terms of religion, in terms of spirituality, and so on. Okay, so just take a break for 5 minutes and then we can continue.
Devarshi, Devarshi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a question. Like, for example, how do you know that which place is ruled by which signs? Is there any reference to it?
There is no actual reference to it except the Phala Deepika. Okay.
Okay.
What I'll do is that what I've thought is that anyways it's not possible to represent all, to enlist all the places. So I'll just make a few videos that will be based entirely on the signs.
Okay.
So Aries is this, and then maybe Gemini is this. So I have listed all the important places in what I'm saying right now, but there are a few other places that I might have missed. Okay, so I'll make a few videos and then maybe those will be available on YouTube that I can do.
Okay. And Devarshi just wanted to know, how do you deduce, like, on the basis of the sign, what do you actually take it? For example, if you see Aries, so normally if you see this is the sheep, goat, and also mostly sheep and goat, they like to actually stand alone. Like, you don't see them in flock. Sheep and goats. So maybe the nature of the person might be a little isolated.
The intelligence, the way of operating, how the intelligence operates, how the person discerns between the right and wrong, that is how the animal is, that is similar to how the animal is doing it. Okay, so
okay. And one more thing I wanted to understand, like, for example, when we actually speak about I may be wrong also. Okay, for example, temples. Okay, temples is called as Devsthan. So Devta, when you say about the Devsthan, it represents Jupiter, right?
Devata is represented by Jupiter, but
yeah,
Devata is represented by Jupiter. The Devasthana is not represented by Jupiter.
Okay, all right.
Devasthana,
okay, then
there are devatas which can cause harm to you also. It depends on how you're using the power of the devatas. The deity has no power unless and until you give it the power to do either good or harm.
Okay, so like, for example, if you say Hanuman temple, Hanumanji is of Mars, right? Aries. So a Hanuman temple will be an area of Mars or an area of...
No. Don't look at it in that way. Temples will always be represented by the sign of Sagittarius. Okay. Temple will
Okay.
always be represented by the sign of Sagittarius. Now, when we speak about the sign of Sagittarius, Sagittarius will again have impressions of Jupiter primarily, but it will also have impressions of Ketu, because Ketu is the Mula Trikona of Sagittarius. Okay, so not
Okay.
only
So
you
these are what you are speaking are like little advanced concepts, है
no,
ना?
no, these are not advanced concepts. These are not advanced concepts. It's just that, just to drive home the point. Okay, just to drive home the point. Once we have once we go into the planets, you'll understand why I'm saying that temples, they actually belong to Sagittarius. Okay. But if we consider a temple which is also a place of pilgrimage, for example, if we consider Badrinath, or for example, if we consider Kamakhya, then it transforms into the sign of Pisces. Okay, because temples can
Okay.
be found anywhere. No, you'll see a Shani Mandir anywhere and everywhere nowadays. Okay, so that is Sagittarius, where you cannot, you don't go for a pilgrimage in those temples. Suppose there is a people tree and someone has converted it into a Shani Mandir, you cannot go on a pilgrimage. But then Shani Shignapur is a place of pilgrimage. There you can go and do certain tasks, and maybe go and fulfill your wishes. So that a temple, a Shani Mandir that is there just on the roadside and where people are worshipping, that is Sagittarius. But if you go to Shani Shignapur, where Saturn is said to stay, where Saturn is said to live there, then that becomes the sign of Pisces. So that important distinction has to be understood.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Just taking a break for 5 minutes. All right. So let's next. Just let's look at the parts of the body that are symbolized by the planets. So this is very much a part of medical astrology as well. Okay. So Mesha represents the head. Okay. Just try to remember it, because you'll have the recordings anyways. But if you're taking notes, then you can take it as well. Mesha represents the head. That means the first house will represent the head. Okay, the second house will represent the face. The third house will represent the shoulders. And these are all body parts of the Kala Purusha. Okay, the being of time. The fourth house represents the chest. The fifth house represents the heart and stomach. The sixth house will represent the abdomen. The seventh house will represent the lower abdomen and groin. The eighth house will represent the external genitalia. Okay, the eighth house is the place where the sun does not shine. Right? For example, if you stand completely naked on the beach, right? Stand completely naked on the beach and then just ask, just hold out your hands and just call out the sun to shine on every part of your body. There would be a place inside the body where the sun rays will not reach. That is the eighth house. Okay. Ninth house is the thigh. The 10th house is the knee. Okay, the 10th house is the knee. That is the reason Jupiter gets debiliated in the house of Capricorn, because Jupiter represents the fats in the body. Okay, and you see a person may be supremely fat, may have a lot of fats all across the body, but the fat will never accumulate at the knees. Okay, so 11th house represents the calves, and the 12th house represents the feet. Okay, then we come to the
Devashi, can you repeat once more?
Yeah, the first house represents the head, the second house represents the face, third house represents the shoulders, fourth house represents the chest, fifth house represents the heart and stomach, sixth house represents the abdomen, seventh house represents the lower abdomen and the groin area, eighth house will represent the external genitalia, ninth house will represent the thighs, 10th house will represent the knees, 11th house will represent the calves, and the 12th house will represent the feet. Okay, now if you look at the stature, okay, people having Aries, Taurus, okay, people having Aries, Taurus, Aquarius, and Pisces rising, they are of short stature. Okay, Aries, Taurus, Aquarius, and Pisces, they will be of short stature. Okay, unless and until planets are influencing them, that's a different thing. Okay, don't consider, don't consider any influence by any planet. Okay. Then people having, having Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio, they will be of tall stature. And people having Gemini, Cancer, Sagittarius, and Makara, that means, that means the sign of Capricorn, they will have even stature. That means the stature would be of medium. Okay. Now don't consider, as I said, don't consider any planets, right? For example, if I am saying that, people having Mesha rising or Aries rising, they have short stature. Okay. But then if Mesha contains the sun, where the sun is exalted, in that case, the stature would be of, would be of even stature. Okay, would be even. Okay, so the planets are coming and modifying the signs, if I could explain that. All right. Then we have the signs which are strong during the day and signs which are which are strong during the night. Okay, so the signs which are strong during the night, they are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. Okay, they are also known as the Prishtodaya, Prishtodaya Rashi. Okay, Prishtodaya Rashi. The night strong signs, again, for the benefit of everyone, they are Aries. Okay, they are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. Okay, again, the day strong signs, they are they are Leo, Virgo, Libra, Vrishchika, that means Scorpio, then Aquarius, and Pisces. Okay, so these are known as the Shirshodaya signs. Okay, now there are two exceptions to these. Okay, as I said, the night strong signs are known as Prishtodaya, and the day strong signs are known as Shirshodaya. The exceptions are are Mithuna. Okay, exception is Mithuna, because Mithuna falls under the category of Shirshodaya, although it is strong during the night. Okay, Mithuna will fall under the category of Shirshodaya, although it is strong by the night. All right, and Pisces, although it is strong by the day, okay, it falls under both the categories. That means it falls under Prishtodaya as well as Shirshodaya, and hence it is known as Ubhayodaya. Okay, it is known as Ubhayodaya. All right, I hope I'm making this clear. All right, Mithuna, although it is a it is a night strong sign, it is it falls under the category of Shirshodaya signs. That means it is classified as a as a day strong. It falls in the category of day strong signs. And although Pisces, it is a it is a day strong sign, but it is a combination of the night strong signs as well as the day strong signs. That means it's a it's a combination of Prishtodaya and Shirshodaya. Okay, it is known as the category of Pisces, therefore is known as Ubhayodaya. Ubhayodaya. Okay, now we come to the we come to the malefic signs. Okay, the malefic signs are also known as the male signs. All right, so all the odd signs, it becomes easy to remember. That means Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, and Aquarius. These are signs having male characteristics. Okay, they are also considered as malefic signs. So this is mostly required in whether the signs are malefic or benefic, they are mostly required in Prashna. Okay, then the even signs, that is Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, then Capricorn, and Pisces, they are regarded as female signs or the benefic signs. Okay, then we come to the we come to the movability or the locomotion of the signs. Okay, 1, 4, 7, 10, that means Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, they are movable signs. That means these people, the people having these signs as rising signs, they will always be changeable. Okay, they will always experience frequent changes in decision. Okay, their decisions will always be changeable, and they will always be mobile. That means they will move from one place to the other. Okay, so for example, suppose your 10th house is in a movable sign. Okay, suppose your 10th house is Libra. In that case, moving off, to a different place which is different, to a place which is different from your hometown or home country, it can improve your career. That can be used as a remedy. Okay, I'll just discuss this in details later on. All right, then there are signs which indicate stability and fixity. These signs are also very stubborn. So who are the stubborn signs? They are 2, 5, 8 and 11. That means Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and and Aquarius. Okay, then there are signs which indicate a balance between the fixed nature and the movable nature. So those signs are known as dual signs. Okay, so which are the dual signs? 3, 6, 9 and 12. That means Gemini, okay, Virgo, then Sagittarius and Pisces. These are the dual signs. Okay, so the movability or the locomotion of the signs will also indicate how and where remedies work or don't work. Okay, so if a problem is happening in a in a movable sign, that means in 1, 4, 7 or 10, then you can easily do remedies. Okay, you can easily do remedies and get over that problem. If a problem is having in a fixed sign, that means 2, 5, 8 and 11, then you can just you can just go and tell your client that just accept things the way they are, because you cannot change your fate. Okay, free will not work here. And if the problem is happening in a dual sign, then with a little bit of effort, with a little bit of hard work, with a little bit of application of your free will, you can actually get the problem remedied. Okay, and interestingly, if you look at the dual signs, they are owned by Mercury and Jupiter. Okay, Gemini is owned by Mercury, Virgo is owned by Mercury, Sagittarius is owned by Jupiter, Pisces is owned by Jupiter. So because the dual signs, they are owned by Mercury and Jupiter, so of all the remedies that are there, most of the remedies will be addressed directly to Mercury and Jupiter. Okay, so the ruling deity of Mercury is Narayan and the ruling deity of Jupiter is Shiva. Okay, yeah, I'm speaking about the problematic area. Okay, I'm speaking about a problematic area, right? So suppose your 7th house is having the sign of Cancer, and then there is a problem. You can easily get over that problem. All right, so as I said, most of the remedies would be addressed either to Mercury and Jupiter. And if you look at the DT lordship, if the DT lords of Mercury and Jupiter, Mercury is lorded by Narayan and Jupiter is lorded by Shiva. So most of the pujas, they will either involve Shiva or Narayan or both. Okay, so this is the basis of remedies as well, right? Next, you must know the directions of the signs as well. Okay, so this is very important if you want to take up the practice of astrology. If the 7th house is Aries, it's a movable sign. Obviously, it can be improved. The relationship can be improved. Okay, so 1, 4, 7, 10. So all these are movable signs. Obviously, yes. Now, understanding the directions of the signs.
So I have a small doubt over here.
Yeah.
So now, 7th house, Mars is sitting. So
Yeah.
when Mars Dasha is running, so if we do remedies, it will work out, right?
No, you don't see, as I said, you don't see the planets. You just see the sign first. Okay. See whether the sign is fixed or movable or things like that. Then decide on whether the remedy will work or not.
Okay, only the sign, that's it.
Yeah, only the sign. Don't bring in the planets now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just speaking about the signs so that there is no ambiguity in in understanding it in one part and then going to the planets and then understanding, and then we can combine the signs and the planets together. Just a minute. Okay, now knowing the directions of the signs, this is very, very important if you are, if you are planning to do astrology. Okay, so whenever you study astrology, or whenever you are doing the practice of astrology, always sit in the direction of the sign that is ruling your ascendant. Okay, that is ruling your lagna. So Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, they will have east direction. Okay, now since I'm speaking about sign, number one, if I say number one, it will always mean Aries. I'm not speaking about the first house. Okay, if I say number 12, it will always mean Pisces. If I say number 6, it will always mean Virgo. Okay, so I'll be using these terms interchangeably so that you can also get comfortable with the usage, okay, with the analogy as well. So as I said, knowing the directions is very, very important. So if you have, if you are studying if you are trying to study Vedic astrology, or if you are trying to give out consultations or readings, okay, suppose even if you're giving a phone consultation, right, to someone, then always try to sit in the direction that is represented by the sign which is ruling your first house. So Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, they will rule the east direction. Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, they will rule the south direction. Okay, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, they will rule the west direction. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, they will rule the north direction. Okay, then we come to the tattva of the signs. Okay, so we have 4 tattvas. Okay, we do not consider Akash tattva because Akash tattva is generally invisible. Okay, so Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, they are Agni tattva rashis, or fiery signs. Then we have Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn as the Bhutattva, okay, the earth element. Then the air element, or the Vayu Tattva, is signified by Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And finally, the Jala Tattva, or the water element, is signified by all the water signs, which are Cancer, Scorpio, as well as Pisces. Okay. Now we come to the biological characteristics of the signs. All right, so quadrupeds are 4-footed animals. Okay, quadrupeds are 4-footed animals. So Aries, Taurus, and Aries, Taurus, and Leo, they will always represent 4-footed animals. Okay, then one half of Sagittarius and one half of Capricorn, they will also represent 4-footed animals. Okay, quadrupeds. Okay, so the posterior half of Sagittarius, okay, for simplicity, just remember that one half of Sagittarius represents a quadruped. Again, the anterior half of Capricorn, it will represent a quadruped, okay, or a 4-footed animal. Then bipeds are 2-footed animals. Okay, so Gemini, Virgo, Libra, and Aquarius, they will represent bipeds. And the anterior half, that means the other half of Sagittarius, will also represent biped. Okay, that means a 2-footed animal. Then there are signs which are known as Kita. Kita means insect. Okay, Kita is the origin of the word Kitanu. Right, Kitanu is the germ. So if you look at the watery signs, okay, if you look at the watery signs that of Cancer and Scorpio, they will represent the Kita. Okay, and then there are signs which represent animals which inhabit water. Okay, for example, fish, right? So fish is represented by Makara. Okay, fish is represented by Makara, and the posterior part of, that means the other part of Makara, will also represent animals which are inhabiting water. Okay, What do the animals represent in the nature of these signs? Okay, that's an interesting question. See, a four-footed animal will always think differently than a two-footed animal. Okay, just study the characteristics of how a four-footed animal behaves as compared to a two-footed animal. A two-footed animal will always be quick in making decisions. For example, a human being is a two-footed animal. But a four-footed animal, although it can be quick in making decisions, but the decision will not be logical. The decision will not be rational. Okay, you cannot explain why a lion came and ate up a little boy who was thrown into the den. Lion, the job of a lion is to eat the boy, and the lion just ate up the boy. But if you look at a human being, right? Even if we have the power of choice, we have the power of discernment. So this is how the signs behave as well. Okay. Then we have the constituent characteristics of the signs. All right. So 1, 4, 7, and 10. That means Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. They represent the Dhatu signs. Okay. So what do the Kita signs signify? Kita is insect. You see how insects behave. Just go near an insect, they will not even give you a chance to come near them. You can at least go and fondle a four-footed animal, right? You can just go in front of a lion and fondle it if the lion is merciful enough not to kill you, but you can hardly fondle an insect. Okay, the insect will never allow you to bring your hand closer to them. All right. Again, the constituent character, that means Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, they represent the Dhatu. Okay. Then we have the Mula. Okay. Mula is the signs of Taurus. Mula is the sign of Taurus, the sign of the sign of Leo, the sign of the sign of Scorpio, and the sign of Aquarius. And then the Jiva signs, which are 3, 6, 9, and 12. That means all the dwell signs. Okay, because Jupiter is the Jiva Karaka. Okay, and Mercury is the illicit son of Jupiter. If you study the mythology of the planets, so the signs of Gemini, Virgo, then Sagittarius and Pisces, they will represent the Jiva signs. Okay, so these are very important during Prashna. Okay, they are very important during Prashna. For example, in the Prashna, if the problem is coming from the Dhatu signs, suppose just giving you an example, suppose you have asked the Prashna whether a missing person will come back or not. Okay, and the Prashna is showing up a Dhatu sign. Okay, that means the rising sign of the Prashna is a Dhatu sign. It means the person might have already been killed in a natural disaster like a landslide. Okay, or maybe maybe the person has been lost in the person had gone in search of some precious metal but has become lost. Okay, similarly, if the Prashna shows up a Jiva sign, it means that the Prashna is positive. Okay, so these are mainly used in Prashnas, but as students of astrology, you must know these things. Okay, then we have the caste of the signs as well. Now, by caste I do not mean jati, I mean varna. Okay, so Aries, fiery signs. Which are the fiery signs? Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. They are the Kshatriya caste. Okay, then the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. They are the Vaishya signs. Then the air signs, that means Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. They are the Shudra signs. And the water signs, that means Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. They are Brahmin by Varna. Okay, then we have the lords of the signs. Okay, so Mesha is lorded by Mars, Taurus is lorded by Venus, Gemini is lorded by Mercury. Okay, then we have Cancer, which is lorded by the moon, Leo is lorded by the sun, Virgo is lorded by Mercury, and then Libra is lorded by Venus, Scorpio is lorded by Mars, Sagittarius is lorded by Jupiter, Capricorn and Aquarius are both lorded by Saturn, and we have we have Pisces, which is lorded by Jupiter. Okay. Now, one important thing to mention here, these are the primary lords. Okay. So every sign will have, multiple lords as well. Okay. So a sign will not only be ruled by the primary lord, it will also be ruled by the exaltation lord. Okay. For example, consider the sign of Cancer. So Cancer is originally, the primary lord of Cancer is Moon, but because Jupiter exalts in Cancer, so Jupiter will also have the co-rulership of Cancer. Okay. Similarly, Libra is ruled by Venus. The primary lord of Venus, Libra, is Venus. But because Saturn exalts in Libra, so Libra will also have the co-lordship of Saturn. Okay, so in this way, I'll just discuss exaltation and debilitation in the next class. We'll not have much time for this tonight. So, in this way, a sign will have not only have its own primary lord, it will also have the co-lord. Okay, similarly, if you look at Virgo, okay, or if you look at say, if you look at Gemini, so Gemini is ruled by Mercury, but some people say that Rahu exalts in Gemini. So in that case, Rahu will have the co-rulership of Gemini. Okay, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, but because Mars exalts in Capricorn, so Capricorn will also have the co-rulership of Mars. So this is the way you'll look at it. Okay, so stop here tonight. I welcome your, I welcome your questions.
Devashi, is there any logic which could explain why certain signs are, why certain planets are fire signs, or certain, or there's no logic to it? It's just
No,
we
the thing is that this is what the rishis have told us. Okay, so we are all
Okay.
students of the rishis, and they had received this information in their higher states of meditation. Okay, it was, these things were not compiled, they were not written down anywhere. It's just that it's an interaction that happens between the disciple and the student. Okay, so why is Aries, why is Taurus an earth sign? Okay, because Taurus represents food and drinks as well. Taurus represents the green pastures. Taurus represents the the places where animals reside. So that is the reason it is regarded as a as a earth sign. So that way you can derive the logic, but the main thing why these are called as such, we can have a lot of derivations according to our own logic. Okay, for example, Sanjay Reddy will give his own logic, and then maybe K.N. Rao Sahab will give his own logic. But at the end of the day, these are all just pacifications that we do to the mind. Logic is nothing but a pacification of the mind, isn't it? At the end of the day, we just know one thing, that we are all students of these rishis, and we are just trying to follow whatever they said without bringing in anything from our end. Leah, the thing is that group is known as the constituent character. Okay, it's known as the constituent character. Constituent character. It is known as the constituent character. Are there any correlations between Vedic astrology placements and the Ayurvedic doshas like Vata, Kapha, Pitta? Yes, very much, very much, very much. I don't know your name, what your name is. It is known as VAB, but very much. Constituent character. It is known as constituent character. Okay. What about Mula 4? Mula represents the pastures and the grasslands and the places of vegetation. Okay, Mula represents those places. All right. So for example, suppose you are doing a prashna for a lost object, and suppose the sign that comes up is the sign of Kumbha, then you can say that maybe the object was lost at a place where there is a lot of grass, or maybe at a place where there is a lot of vegetation, or the person was passing through a forest and the object was lost there. Okay. Yeah, correlations between Vedic astrology and Ayurvedic doshas, Vata, Kapha, Pitta. See, there is no, Ayurveda and astrology, they are not separate. They are branches of the same science. It is just that we are dealing with them separately. Okay. So once we proceed significantly, or once we make sufficient strides in this subject, then I'll introduce a course on medical astrology so that we can all learn parallelly, if that's possible. Okay. The ideology behind Surya's connection with Shiva. Okay, Dhanu, I'll make a video on this. Okay, that would be good. In day signs and night signs strong. I think you want the list to be repeated. That's what you were saying. Why is Scorpio strong during the day when it is darkness? Because Scorpio is ruled by Mars. Okay, Scorpio is ruled by Mars. And the signing, the day strong signs and the night strong signs, when we say about that, it's about how they rise, basically. Okay. It is not as, don't read it as a day strong or a night strong, read it as a diurnal strength. Okay. The signs that are rising by the hind side. Prishtodaya means hindsight. Okay. Prishtodaya, it means hindsight. And Shishodaya, it means the head side. Okay. So any sign which is rising from the hind of the Kalpurusha, that becomes night strong. Any sign that rises from the head of the Kalpurusha, that means that becomes day strong. Okay. So that is the logic. No, that is what I'm saying, Leah. Don't look at how, which sign is strong at day or night. It is just that how they are rising, in the body of the Kalpurusha. If they are rising from the hind side, it is the Prishtodaya. If they are rising from the head side, it is the Shishodaya. Okay. So Mithuna, although it is, although it is an exception, okay, it will still be considered as a sign which is strong during the night. Okay. Kalpurusha. Kala Purusha. Kala Purusha means the cosmic, the cosmic being of whom we are studying the chart. Kala Purusha. Just typed for everyone's benefit. Okay. All right then. I don't think Kala Purusha is the cosmic person. Okay, it is the cosmic being, or the body representation of a chart, right? For example, we said that the first house represents the head. Whose head? It is the head of the Kala Purusha. Okay, the 12th house represents the feet. Whose feet? It is the feet of the Kala Purusha. That means the cosmic being of time. Okay, he has been gracious enough to allow his body to be used as a case study for our studies, for our readings. So we are all studying the Kala Purusha in any astrological reading. Okay. I'll do one thing. I'll make a video on Kala Purusha. I'll upload it maybe by Tuesday, because this recording is how does it connect to these rising signs? Because the first, you said how they rise. Yeah, the thing is that the rising sign is the sign that was rising in the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. Okay, but for Kala Purusha, his rising sign is always Aries. Okay, his rising sign is always Aries. Right? Now, how do you connect the two? For example, suppose you have a Capricorn rising. So Aries would be connected to his 4th house. Okay, Aries would be connected to his 4th house. Although it is, although Aries is the 4th house, so just make a prediction in this way, that whenever it comes to domestic matters, this person will be very, very brave in taking decisions. This person will be very, very quick in taking decisions when it comes to domestic matters. Suppose a Capricorn rising person is trying to build a house. because the fourth house is Aries, so he will actually build a house without even trying to get into the, without trying to get into the knowledge of how to build a house. He'll just go there. Now see, I have this empty piece of land. Let me build a house. Let me see what happens next. So that would be his or her way of approaching, approaching the building of a house, because the fourth house is Aries. Okay.
Devashi, one more thing, like for examples, that fire signs, which are the things like, which planets are assigned to which signs, those details will get in Phaladipika, right?
Yeah, you can get in Phaladipika. You can also get in the Brihad Jataka of Varaha Mihira. Your Phaladipika is the best book for it. But make sure that
Phaladipika, and what book of Varaha Mihira?
Brihad Jataka, Brihad Jataka.
Brihad Jataka.
But make sure that if you are having a because anyways you'll not be able to read the Sanskrit text. So if you're having a copy of the English translation of Phaladipika, make sure that you have a publication of Sagar, the Sagar publishing house. No, I'm not saying that Gemini fits into the day signs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that although Gemini rises from the hind side, it still goes into the night side. Okay, and there is no way to connect it. Okay, there is no way to connect it except for the fact that this is what Parashara has told his student Maitreya in the BPHS. Hindsight means the hindsight of your body. The hindsight of your body. The hindsight of your body, that's what I'm saying. Head side means the head of your body. Either this or this. All right. I think there is some difficulty in understanding the, yeah. To some extent, yes. It's not a complete yes. It's not a complete yes. What I'll do is that I'll make a video on Kala Purusha and understanding the Kala Purusha. Maybe that would be a better option for all of you. Okay. All right then. So I don't think we have any questions anymore. Thank you everyone who have joined in. I'll be seeing all of you next Sunday, and stay tuned to the channel for more updates. All right. Thank you everyone. Thank you for joining in. Om Gurave Namaha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.